Fort Vancouver District Board of Trustees meeting. I'm now calling this meeting to order. We have Olga and Irina online. Marianne's not here yet, correct? Okay. All right, is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any further discussion? Okay, I move this to a roll call vote, please.
Free Coffee,
Aye.
Marianne Duncan Cole. Come back to her. She's just entering the room. Olga Hodges.
Aye.
Aye.
Mary Williams.
Aye.
Irina Kakarina.
Aye.
Megan Dugan.
Aye.
Marianne Duncan Cole.
It's okay. Motion passes. Thank you. She'll get connected in here shortly, I'm sure. I don't have any announcements tonight, so we will move straight into public comments. You will have 2 minutes to speak. We'll take up to 1 hour to hear comments. Please no clapping or noise during or between speakers. No inappropriate language. Please be respectful of one another. And you'll stand right here on the little red carpet and direct your comments up toward the board. No playing recordings or videos, and please say your name before you begin. Go ahead.
Our first public comment is online. Marla Kiefler.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. I didn't expect to go first. My apologies for taking a moment, but I am here tonight as the mayor of White Salmon, but also as a member of the Next Chapter Advisory Committee, which was formed earlier this year to really help guide the regional libraries on their upcoming strategic and facilities plans. First, I just want to recognize that it has felt like very purposeful work, and I've appreciated how much of a diverse group has been brought together across different organizations and elected leadership and community representation. The thing I really want to speak to is that one of our roles was to advise on the vision, values, strategic priorities, goals, and key performance indicators. I understand that our work on those values and missions before you tonight, and I wanted to speak to that perspective specifically. Much consideration was given to the words that are reflected, especially in that mission statement, and I do think it's important the way that it's being presented as the perspective of a leader that has to hold a role for a certain period of time, which is the role that many of you have. It's very important that when we pass that baton, we're really clear about the intent in the meeting. And I'm mindful that our responsibility in passing that is so that they can clearly fill those shoes as well. And right now, that long-term strategic facilities and plans, establishing a mission that clearly expresses the desire to champion equitable access to literacy and lifelong learning for stronger, more connected communities is very important. When I think about our library here, which is actually identified in our comprehensive plan as something most of our residents value, that equitable access part to me, what it means is that any leadership for Fort Vancouver Regional Libraries going forward understands that we want the ability for residents in Goldendale or White Salmon or Vancouver to be able to access the same programs and services. But we also realize that there's limitations across what a branch in White Salmon might look like compared to Vancouver. And so providing that access equitably, I think, is very intentional. And a lot of our discussion and deliberation in that group was to do that.
Thank you very much. Good. Were there two online?
Yes.
Okay.
Next online, we have Tana Engdahl.
You're on mute, Tana.
Okay,
There you go.
Okay, go ahead.
thank you. Good evening. Gotta find my notes here. Thank you for your time. I am Tana Engdahl. I'm a constant user of the online library and am happy to serve on the Strategic Planning Committee for the Vancouver Regional Libraries. I am an elder. I want to speak tonight on behalf of an old friend. This friend helped me through some extremely difficult times as a child and tween. I doubt that many here have lived a childhood like mine. I changed schools 22 times before graduating from high school, so there was no time to cultivate friends. Nevertheless, I was befriended. My supporters were churches and libraries. In those days, libraries were open for many hours and churches were not locked. It was a way to get out of the cold. No librarian barred me from entering the library or looked down on worn-out clothes. Books were passports to a life I decided to live. I just needed to stay alive in the meantime. In adulthood, I learned a word that meant everything to a person like me: equity. My light brown skin didn't bar me from opening the door to warmth and books. No one looked aghast about my shoes wired together. Thankfully, no one questioned me about a parent, so I never had to say she was in a tavern someplace. And someone helped me find my way around a library and probably many other things that the library had to offer. Equity means more than just fairness, access, or freedom from disparity. It is the halo of conscience that surrounds our rational thought. This brave little word, equity, should not be taken hostage by political
you.
slings.
We can move into the in-person comments, please.
First up, we have Jane Higgins. While Jane is getting ready, it'll be Jane, followed by Quill, followed by Gary.
First of all, as president of the Friends of Battleground Community Library, it's always a pleasure to welcome the board and the staff to Battleground. We don't have a lot of our friends here tonight because if we had a lot in September, but they don't drive typically after dark, but they're excited to have you here too. It was my great honor to be on the NCAC committee. And I have to tell you, it was the most democratic representative committee. There were people there from all over the districts. There were city council people, even the tribes were represented. And we had all these community conversations, and I'm sure people ran out of Post-it notes, and people could express their opinion by writing in, by phone, by online. It was everybody. And we had a lot of opinions from people who typically do not interface with the library, but because of the levy lid lift and the 75th anniversary, we did. And I want to say the mission, vision, and values are a compilation of the people whose library money you spend. And it's what they want and spoken from their heart. And it was the most democratic process I have ever been involved in, being representative. So welcome, and we look forward to your responses to the work of a lot of work. So thank you.
Next up, we have Quill Olmsted.
Hi, my name is Quill Onstead and my pronouns are they, them. I'm here to speak in support of Drag Queen Story Hour as a genderqueer member of the library community. Happy Trans Awareness Week. Kudos to the City of Battleground for their Trans Day of Remembrance proclamation being read tonight at 7 p.m. It's encouraging to see continued support for the LGBTQ+ community at the local level, even as the federal government continues its attacks on the queer community. While the First Amendment often gets cited often in matters involving religious freedom, the Ninth Amendment also enshrines a powerful right. It reads, "The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people." To rephrase in more modern terms, if we missed anything, that doesn't mean it's not protected. We have a whole bunch of amendments that add explicit protections, but the Ninth Amendment still remains. Queer people exist. We have the right to pursue our lives, liberties, and happiness. Telling kids that we exist is not a monstrous act that dooms society as a whole. A religion does not get to dictate what is and is not appropriate for people outside of its practitioners. Drag Queen Story Hour is a vital program that teaches kids about gender identity in an age-appropriate manner. Parents who do not approve of Dry Clean Story Hour do not have to bring their children to any Dry Clean Story Hour programs. Please allow the staff of FVRL Libraries to present Dry Clean Story Hour and have the district live up to the ideals espoused in FVRL Libraries' equity statement. Thank you for your service to the community.
We have Gary Wilson.
Thank you, library board members, for your service. And as always, please continue to err on the side of caution when it comes to programming for your most vulnerable patrons, the children. And I know I was just recently thanked by a former board member for having worked to get the last levy approved in August. And I sent out over 2,000 emails to people because you guys are, in my opinion, doing a good job of protecting the innocence of your most vulnerable patrons, and again, the children. So appreciate that. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Was that everyone then? Okay. All right, I'm now closing the public comments portion of the meeting. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented?
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, I move this to a vote, please.
Mary Coffey,
Aye.
Mary Ann Duncan Cole, Olga Hodges,
Aye.
Christy Morgan,
Aye.
Mary Williams,
Aye.
Irina Kakarina,
Aye.
Megan Dugan.
Aye.
Motion to approve consent agenda is adopted. We'll move on to the reports. First report out is the September 2025 financial statements with Katrina.
Good evening, Board of Trustees. The September financial report will start on page 15 of your packet. Page 15 is your statement of cash for September 2025. That will show you that our current cash balance is just over 15.4 million. It'll show you that our net operating activity for the month of September is negative 1.8 million. And our net operational activity for year to date is negative 2.8 million. This is expected to adjust when we receive October's property tax of just about 9.8 million and go over our report next month. So don't fear, we would expect these results. And this will put us at about 93% year-to-date property tax revenues, which is in line with what we would expect. Moving on to page 16 of your report and looking at revenues. Please know that all of the revenue areas are meeting or exceeding our expectations year-to-date. For example, property taxes, when we consider the 9.8 million that we will receive or have received in October and we'll see next month as part of October's report, that puts us at the 93%. And so that is in line with expectations. In addition, Yale Valley revenues are slightly under the 75% year-to-date budget percent. Again, to be expected based on timing. We will see the total of those contract revenues coming in November, and will also be fully reimbursed for capital expenditures in November from Yale. Any questions on revenues before we move to page 17 and talk about expenses? Page 17 outlines our expenses year to date through September. Overall, our expenses are trending 13% less than our initial 2025 budget. This is substantially driven by factors that we've previously discussed, and I'll highlight some of them in a minute as well. And you'll see further that they support our budget amendment that we'll talk about later in the agenda. Some of the reasons why expenses are trending 13% under our initial budget are continued vacancies in positions, some of which were filled through a professional service. Capital projects not taking hold. This is in part driven from turnover in facilities staff, a focus on the levy lid lift, and that little fire in the VA server room also distracted us. This has not only impacted us spending capital as we initially planned, but it also reduced some of our expenses in our furniture, fixture, and equipment budget under supplies. We continue to see a timing difference in books and materials. This was further impacted, I think Jennifer mentioned it last month, where Baker and Taylor, one of our significant vendors, is going out of business. And then our intergovernmental services. 3 of the 4 counties will not be invoicing us until next month. So the most significant aspect of that expense line is our elections invoices from the county auditors for our levy lid lift that was on the ballot in August. So 3 of the 4 counties won't be invoicing us till 2026. You'll see in the amendment an adjustment for us to pay 1 of the 4 counties, and then in 2025, and then the other 3 in 2026.
Can you remind me what the machinery and equipment is? Why it's at 758%?
Replacement vehicles.
The vehicles?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question, and it's probably for Lynn, but so with Baker and Taylor closing and Ingram delaying processing, is that going to further impact the book budget? If they're not covering paperbacks with laminate and not Mylar covering hardbacks, are we pausing our Ingram orders or
No.
doing that in-house or?
No, we're not pausing anything. So we don't get everything. First of all, Baker and Taylor, we had about $7,000 on order when the announcement came, and so those orders were canceled. We also with Ingram are in the process of getting more things shelf ready. But still, by and large, the majority of the items are coming in where we still process and catalog them. So we expect to spend the majority of these funds by the end of the year. Right, Lynn? Great.
Thanks.
Any additional questions on your financial report for September?
Oh, I was wondering if we have an amount for how much we've been paying the strategic team planning committee as of this month or this report. I'm trying to find it in the fine print here.
It'll be under group 4.
That's not going to be the total, though.
No, she said for this month.
Oh, I thought she meant year to date for this month.
I don't.
Can you?
Are you talking about just for this month?
For this month and then the total so far?
Well, we don't have that probably tonight with us, but we can certainly get that to you, Olga.
Do we have the latest on there? I'm trying to see it.
I'm looking to see if I can find that on here. So we pay them monthly. What page? 13? Okay, it's on page 13 of 68, $43,800.
What was the estimate for the service? Do you remember?
It's about 400,000 overall. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, and then we'll get the final bill like next month or?
We've been billed monthly throughout the process. So if you went back into these documents for each month, you'd see the payment for the month, but we can certainly provide you next month with a breakout of what it's been.
So that's for the group that's going to be reporting tonight?
Yeah, so it's one contract. Group 4 is the lead on that. That's why that's who the payment is to. But Point North and Group 4, as well as some other subs on the facilities side, have been working jointly on the projects.
So the 400,000 is for the multiple groups, or it's just for Point North?
It's for everyone that's working on both the facilities master planning and the strategic plan.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other questions? Is there a motion to receive and file the September financial statements as presented?
I so move.
Second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, I move this to a vote, please.
Courtney Coffee,
Aye.
Mary Ann Duncan Cole, Olga Hodges,
Aye.
Christy Morgan,
Aye.
Mary Williams,
Aye.
Irina Kakarina,
Aye.
Megan Dugan.
Aye.
Motion passes. Marianne, I just want to let you know, if you're talking, we haven't been able to hear you at all. So if you're asking questions, you could type. You guys will watch that, right? Okay, thanks. All right. Moving on to the organizational report with Alicia and Jennifer.
Hello, good evening. Just want to highlight just a quick few things, just things that are going out in the branches. At La Center, they held a fall author panel called Murder Most Mysterious. They had 3 local mystery writers, and it was great for patrons to be able to connect, ask questions, and the authors were also able to talk about their upcoming projects. So that was a fun program. Just a couple of other quick things. This was a fun story from Three Creeks. During a story time, 2 moms that both speak Persian connected. One heard the other one speaking in Persian to their child and was like, oh my gosh, we know the same language. So I thought that that was a really great story of just how folks connect in our spaces. So that was fun. And then Vancouver Mall, Clark County Food Bank, nutrition education team did a workshop on preparing, safely preserving, and storing food to reduce food waste and risk of foodborne illness. And they were able to do a demonstration. And the great thing was everyone that participated was able to leave with a bag of food so they could practice at home. And then one last quick thing, Woodland Community Library. They had over 2,000 people come to their library table at the downtown trick-or-treat event, where kids were getting candy and costume and also a book. Books were supplied by the Woodland Friends groups, but amazing that they were able to connect with over 2,000 people. Just so many folks are interested in our services and resources, so that was really great. And then just one quick staffing update. We have been recruiting for the Assistant Public Services Director position. And in the meantime, Holland Christie, our Battleground Manager, has graciously agreed to be the interim Assistant Public Services Director. So we are super, super excited that Holland will be helping out in that capacity. So that's great news as well. So.
And the only other thing I would add is that today is the official launch of the Library of Things. And if you didn't see the article in the Columbian on Friday, it's here. But I would ask if you could bring up FVRL.org, our website. I just want to make sure that you can see the main page is featuring the Library of Things. If I'm sorry, I didn't ask you that before, Miranda, putting you on the spot. So there it is. So if you click on that, borrow what inspires you with Library of Things. If you click on that, it'll take you to a page that tells you all about what we have and how it works. Scroll down. Yeah, all sorts of information. And you can actually see the actual items there. Beautiful work that Lynn and Julian's team did to really take pictures of all the items that we have, so you have a sense of what they are. You look them up in the catalog too. You can find them in the catalog, place a hold, and all the items are stored at the operations center and then get delivered to where the patron wants to pick them up. And when they're returned, they either come back to the operations center or to the next patron that has it on hold. The goal is to have such popular items as that they're never on the shelf. In fact, today, this morning, or as of about 2 o'clock this afternoon, I was told that 30% of the items had already gone out the first day. So don't wait too long to start your podcast, to go for a trek in the woods, to look up at the stars, to play pickleball. I want to do that. So if anybody's interested, let me know. So I think I want to, just really give a shout out to our Library Foundation, who funded $15,000 in 2025 to start this program, and they've committed to more funding in 2026. We've started with around 50 items and we expect that to grow as we get feedback from the public. There also is a place on this site that you're on right now that allows you to donate items. So who's ever like bought something and they thought, I want to try this, whatever. And then you're like, I never use it. It's collecting dust. You might want to donate that to the library. So I'm sure there's a lot of that. And just want to recognize again Lynn and Lynn's team because they had to learn how to catalog all these items too, which took a bit of time and then package them because they don't go out like books. We have to have packaging for each of these items that's particular to the item. So there's been a lot of great work done. And if you ever want to see the behind the scenes, stop on by the Operations Center and we'll show you. I think I will ask Lynn to do a report to the board probably at the beginning of 2026 when we've had some more experience of how it's going and give you some feedback then.
I just put the ukulele on hold. They're all checked out. There's only 4. There's 4.
Any other questions?
Okay, next up is Battleground branch report with Holland.
I will say that I too want to learn pickleball.
Right.
So I don't know. Looks like a library pickleball team.
Competition.
Hello, everyone. I am so thankful that you're all here. Thank you to the Board of Trustees for coming here tonight. I'm here to give the report for Battleground, Yakult, and Yale. I got 3. I got a trifecta. Okay, so first, we're going to start with a little Battleground library history. 1941 started. We were run by a bookmobile. In 1944, we first opened our branch here. I'll skip over a few. 2009, we opened here in this beautiful library that you're sitting in tonight. And then in 2019, we had a little bit of a refresh. We got this new carpet. We got some paint. We got all sorts of fancy things. So basically, we're celebrating 16 years here in this library tonight. And I think for 16 years, this library has aged really, really well. And I feel so grateful for that. It is a beautiful library. It's attractive. And especially considering how much traffic we've had, it's aged remarkably well. So first off, I want to talk about programs. Story times. I could not talk about programs without talking about story times. I have to say, when I first had my librarian come here, she came from Indiana, and she could not believe the number of people we had for our story time. 100 people. 100 people in this room. She was shocked. So now we offer 4 story times and 1 drop-in play to learn a week. Other programs we offer include our book groups for kids and adults, our Build It program, our English Conversation Circle, yada, yada. You can read it. We offer other one-off programs each year in addition to the ongoing list. Some of these past years of some of these programs this past year included DIY cat castles. You could have come for that. Rainbow rugs, DIY skincare, basket making, Be Red Cross Ready, sourdough starter. That one was so popular here. We had so many people. Pickling, no baked dog treats. Introduction to investing. And we also offer a lot of just database instruction. We also had a bad art night, pizza and politics, makeup tips and tricks, a tech petting zoo, a toddler drive-in, which is,
That's so fun.
yes.
Has anybody been to a toddler drive-in? Oh,
Well, you need to come. Local history walk. We had an Audubon walk for all you bird watchers. And then I couldn't talk about programs without also talking about summer at your library. So this year we had over 1,000 readers, as you can see. 540.
you have to click. I think.
Oh, thank you.
There you go.
547 readers completed and over 70 programs and outreach visits. I
Wow.
want you to look at that picture because I'm going to talk about it. More than 400 people attended our kickoff summer program, The Reptile Man. That's, oh, there we go. Oh, sorry. There we go. That's on the top left. Over 400 people were in our fireplace room. That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, reptiles are huge. Here, Yakult, Yale, they love the reptiles. Other amazing events included our 75th anniversary celebration with the Friends and Reese Thomas and Art of Henna and Hawaiian hula, as you saw on the previous slide. Did it.
You just have to do it twice.
Yeah, I do. Okay, so outreach. We also have National Night Out. We have a ton of outreach events every year. We've got the GFWC, Hawkinson Silver Social, a lot of events. I won't read them all. All right. We're going to talk about Yakult. So, Yakult, I like to say, is the little library that could. This little library has got so much circulation numbers, so many door counts, it surpasses a lot of our other little libraries. So that's why I put that little engine in there. It opened in 2012. It followed the retirement of the library or the Clark County Bookmobile, and it's housed, as any of you have known who've gone up to visit, in the old jail. And it's really cool. If you go see it, it's cool.
There is an engine next to it too, isn't there?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay.
Chalachi Railroad.
Mm-hmm.
So up in that little building, we don't have a space to do programming. So we have to do it either outside or in that tiny, tiny little space. But in that little space, we've had the kids create. We offer holiday events. We tried to do one last year and it quickly surpassed the space itself. So we had to go outside. We've done all the summer programs outside, and it's really, really too popular for the space itself. So we've reached out to Stellar Lux, which is a local business, and they've allowed us to use their space for programs. Next up, yeah. So, as you can see, 2003, we started the precinct to form a partial county rural library district. And in 2018, we broke ground. And in 2021, we built this beautiful library.
And just a reminder for everybody, I like to remind people in the Yell Valley Library District, it is an independent district, as Holland was just mentioning, that was voted in 2003. They have a contract for service with Fort Vancouver Regional Libraries. We run the library as if it is our own. They pay us to do that through their property taxes. They have a 5-member library board that oversees the finances and their own separate policies. Most policies and procedures follow Fort Vancouver. It is Fort Vancouver's books and staff and technology inside the building owned by Yale. So it's a very unique situation. I'm sure you've all been there this year on your passport tour. If you haven't, I hear there's still time, so please make your way. Marie was there recently with me for a board meeting, and it's a really wonderful little community and library. So go see it when you're up there.
It truly is beautiful. Thank you, Jennifer.
Mhm.
So we have some ongoing programs up there. Now, granted, staff is only up there 15 hours a week, so it's very, very limited. And even in that limited time, they have been able to offer a variety of programs. We've got the Kids Create program. We have an adult book group. We have holiday events that are huge. They surpass the space. We have school visits. And then we also have an Alzheimer's awareness series offered up there.
And just to kind of be clear, it's not staffed, much like Yakult.
Yeah.
These are self-service libraries that you can go in during the posted hours with your library card. So you scan your card at the door, you go inside, you get to use the library on your own or with whoever else might be there and check things out on the self-check machines, use the copiers, use the computers. If you need help, there is a phone and it calls down to our Vancouver Community Library who will assist you as needed. So there are cameras in the facilities. They are looked at, again, from the downtown Vancouver Library to make sure everything is operating as they should. So it's a really unique situation, and it's how we have the ability to have resources in those communities.
And I will say the hours mirror the Vancouver library hours. So it's 7 days a week. Yes, it's wonderful. Okay, so all 3 of these libraries are blessed to have supportive, enthusiastic, and generous friends groups. The vision for the Yale Library began at a tea party. You can see that picture with the ladies you see there. The Yakult friends have been going strong over the years, and so many of those people are still there today. The BG friends, I love them. They're true pillars of the community and always full of great ideas. Thank you so much for your time and attention. And I really would like to express my sincere gratitude to the community for your engagement and support, the library board for your advocacy and commitment, and my colleagues for your guidance and assistance. Thank you.
Any questions?
Yes. If you have a bad art night, do you have a good art night?
That's not nearly as fun.
Well, my real question is, with you taking on the new position, will you continue? Are you just adding another thing to your plate or no?
No, we have a really wonderful leader here in Battleground. His name is Evan, and he's going to take, yes, you know Evan.
I worked with Evan.
Yes, he's dear, and he will take on a huge part of my responsibilities in my absence. Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
And then
I did
at
ask.
Yale,
Oh,
Yakult.
and Yakult Niel, Leslie.
Okay.
Leslie.
Yes, she's awesome as well. So yes, I've got 2 tremendous leaders who are taking over so much. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Nothing online, right? No questions. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the business portion of our meeting, starting with facilities and finance committees, the 2025 budget adjustment second read.
Before I get into the 2025 amended budget second read, I have answers on Group 4's amount. The contract is $403,590. Through September, we have paid on the contract $270,390, which leaves us $133,200 left to wrap up the contract.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Good evening again, Board of Trustees. Now we get to talk about the 2025 budget, which is going to support some of the September 2025 financial report. If you go to page 51 of your packet, that's where our 2025 budget amendment journey will start. I'm not going to say a whole lot about this budget amendment. We talked quite a bit about it last month. I want you to know that this document is substantially the same as what was presented in October. There are a couple of minor changes based on further analysis after completing the September year-to-date financial report. For example, our revenues are increasing about $55,000 between the taxes, the other taxes, and investment interest. And our expenses are decreasing by $40,000 in intergovernmental services. Once we received the one invoice we expect to receive for our elections costs, we further reduced that budget amount to reflect what we are actually paying in 2025. The combination of these two changes, the increase in revenues and the decrease in expenses, is going to positively impact our ending cash reserves by $95,000, which will provide us an estimated ending cash reserves of $15.9 million. And this allows us to meet our operating reserves expectations of having $8.3 million. Make sure that we are making or retaining 60 to 90 days worth of budgeted expenses. Any questions on the 2025 budget amendment?
Nothing online. Is there a motion to adopt resolution 2025-10, the 2025 budget and reserve allocation amendment as presented?
A second.
Is there any further discussion? I move this to a vote, please.
Kate Coffey,
Aye.
Mary Ann Duncan Cole, Olga Hodges,
Aye.
Steve Morgan,
Aye.
Mary Williams,
Aye.
Rena Takarina,
Aye.
Nathan Dugan.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
It's passing resolution 25-10.
Oh, do you remember that? Motion to adopt resolution 2025-10, addressing the 2025 budget and reserve allocation amendment is adopted. You're welcome. Can't tell if Miriam's trying to say things. All right. And Katrina. Katrina's up again with 2026 budget first reading.
Thank you. With this being our first reading of the proposed 2026 budget, I have quite a bit more to say than I did for the 2025 budget amendment. As we would all expect, or I hope we would all expect, the 2026 budget is substantially different than what we saw in 2024 or 2025, in that it's realizing property tax revenues associated with our levy lid lift and demonstrates our commitment to voters while we deliver on our promises associated with the levy lid lift. This budget's also going to look different as our cash reserves will increase at the end of the year, opposed to the last couple of years where we've budgeted for an expected use of reserves leading up to our levy lid lift need. If we go to page 58, that is where the 2026 budget begins with revenues. We are estimating a total of 56.9 million in revenues. Most of our categories are consistent with prior year's revenue budgets, with a notable increase in our property tax revenues and associated increase in investment revenue. There are detailed notes on page 59 for the revenues. I'm not going to read them for you, but I want you to know that we went through and outlined in more detail each one of the categories, property tax, other taxes, grants and contracts, charges for service, and miscellaneous revenues, and the changes that you'll see or the differences that you'll see in 2026 over 2025. Any questions on revenues before we move on to expense?
Might just highlight, because we've had this question here quite a bit, that we used to have the other taxes in more than one line, and such as the timber tax, it was very hard to predict. So they've been consolidated into one line called other taxes.
Thank you. Yes, there were, I believe, 4 lines. If I go back to September. Financials, yes. Other general taxes, leasehold taxes, federal in lieu of taxes, and state forest boards are all of our other taxes being represented in the 2026 budget. As Jennifer mentioned, almost month over month, we dig into that and try to evaluate why it's different, either higher or lower than what we predicted in the budget. These are all very hard to estimate and budget for other taxes. So we have lumped them together for many reasons, including ease of budgeting and presentation.
But if you ever want to know how that breaks out, we can certainly provide that.
Okay. Hearing no questions, I am going to move on to page 60 and talk about our 2026 budgeted expenses. We are estimating 50.8 million of budgeted expenses. This is a 52% increase over our 2025 budget amendment for expenses. 7.2 million of this increase is for operating costs. And this is driven in part, as we know, through our levy lid lift. One of our promises was to increase branch open hours, which will be effective in June of 2026. So these costs are associated with having branches open longer hours, including having increased staffing to support the longer hours. This increase also includes standard COLA and anniversary increases for staff as part of the personnel budget, and non-negotiable increases to medical, dental, and retirement benefits. We'll see an increase in library materials, so we can ensure we're maintaining the industry standard of 12% of our operating budget going towards library materials. And we'll also see an increase so we can continue to invest in technology. For example, we are looking to have a new phone system in 2026.
And why is that, you might ask? Do you know if we have a problem with our phones right now? I'm told that the IT director has to go on eBay to find old parts. It's that old. And so it's held together with duct tape, they say. So that is why we need need to upgrade the phone system. Sorry, I know you have more, but
No, that's
people
good.
might wonder.
And not much better than that is your accounting system that is almost equally held by a different kind of duct tape. It is getting phased out. It is very antiquated, and we are in the process of watching demos to see what our new system will look like. And so that cost will take place in 2026. So we'll continue to invest in technology so we can talk to each other and process our financials. And then, as has been mentioned already, rolling forward the costs from our elections. So 3 of the 4 counties will invoice us in 2026 for our elections costs. The most expensive, of course, being Clark County. So we have about $800,000 budgeted to pay for the rest of our elections costs in 2026. And then we get to our capital budget. We have a healthy capital budget in 2026. This is in part, as we know, from 2025, where we were not able to get to projects such as the Vancouver Community Library deck replacement. Goldendale has some repair and replacement needs that were not able to be realized in 2025. And Three Creeks was scheduled for a refresh that didn't materialize either. So those efforts are expected to at least start in 2026, if not be finished in 2026. In addition to that, our operations center needs a new roof and an HVAC system. We have additional building refresh efforts budgeted for. And last but certainly not least, we will be moving forward with our Washougal Community Library new building.
So we wanted to talk about the Washougal Library. As we know, that was in our levy lift promises to move that forward. We have updated the cost estimates because the costing was done in 2021. And we had been saying 11 million was the construction cost for many years. The construction cost will be 12.9 million. And that isn't the full project cost. So when we talk about construction costs, that's really what it takes to actually build the building. But all of the architecture, all of the permitting, all of the engineering, all of the things that go into planning the full project will be around $18 million. We have, with this budget as a district, we have 5 million set aside in our reserve budget, and then 4 million out of operations in 26 makes 9 million. Then we have 2 million from the Friends and Foundation committed. We have 2.218 million from the state appropriation that we received. So we're at around, what is that, 12.2 million. So we will still be working to fundraise for the gap. We will be applying for the Library Capital Improvement Program, which the applications are in the spring. The foundation will apply for that, and we'll get up to $2 million if awarded. We can only cross our fingers, but that would be helpful. I'll also be working with Jenny to put together a capital campaign, again, to fundraise for the project. And in addition, if worst case scenario, we will allocate and have planned to allocate funds out of the 2027 and 28 budget to complete the project. The goal will be to raise as much private money as we can to offset the needs of the district putting operating money into the project in order to ensure that levy lasts for a long time. So while I can't say today what the mix is going to be at the end of the project, my hope is that we will get to a place where there is as much private giving going into that building as there is district funds.
At what point do we, or have you already begun architectural drawings and?
Oh, thanks for that question, Marie. So back in 2021, there was a whole public process. I forget, probably nobody on the board was here for that, right? Jane was. There was a whole public process with community engagement that Hacker Architects did. Hacker is the architect on the project. And they went very far into schematic design. That's how they were able to cost the project out. So we have met with Hacker Architects and went through the schematic drawings and concept drawings and have made minimal changes. And then the recosting was done based on that. And now they'll be moving into design development. So the actual drawings that then will be put another costing to once they're done. And then we go out for bid to have a contractor move forward. We do expect to break ground in the summer, 2026 summer. And we do expect then to have the opening sometime in the late fall, early winter of 2027. So I'll come back once we get a little bit further with an overview of the project timeline and again, the funding in a more visual way than what I just described.
On that note, let's talk about reserves. So we talked about our revenues budgeted to be 56.9 million and our expenses, operating and capital, being 50.8 million. This gives us about 6 million that's going to go into our reserves. So we're going to increase our reserves in 2026, which will allow us to maintain not only some capital reserve money for repairs and maintenance, for vehicle replacements, the 5 million Jennifer mentioned associated with Washougal, but also it allows us to make sure we are maintaining enough cash reserves to meet our 60 to 90 day budgeted expense cash on hand expectation per policy. So we will end 2026 with a total of slightly less than 22 million, and just over 13 million of that is required to meet our cash reserve policy.
And you'll recall in our conversations around the levy lid lift that I would often say that in the early years of a levy lid lift, we will be putting money into reserves because in the later years we draw from them. So that is true. More money is going into reserves. However, because we have a building right off the bat, that also kind of changes those dynamics. As the years go forward and Washougal gets built, and those millions are not part of Washougal, that gets freed up for other things as well. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
And I will make sure to bring our 5-year projection next month as well, so you can see how that impacts the flow.
As required by the financial policy, the 5-year projection. So today was just the first reading, certainly open to questions you might have or direction you might want to give. But we will bring this back in December for a vote and a public hearing.
Well, I like your notes. When I was reading through this, the notes answered a lot of my questions before we even got here tonight. So they were really helpful. I appreciate it.
Glad to hear it.
Any questions? It's not, okay. So we'll move now into the 2026 property tax levy, and Katrina is going to give us a little information first.
Yes. Every year we are required to bring forth a levy resolution and have the board pass the levy resolution. In a non-levy lid lift year, the resolution would be allowing us to increase by 1% per law. This year, it looks a little bit different because we are recognizing that we passed our levy lid lift and that we are restoring our levy rate to the 50 cents per thousand assessed value. So the resolution is a standard process for us to communicate with the county that this is how we want to move forward in alignment with our election or the election process that approved our levy lid lift.
All right. Thank you. So I'm now going to open the public comment portion of the public hearing for the 2025 property tax levy. The ground rules for the hearing are that the public comment portion of the public hearing will be set to 30 minutes. Each individual will be allowed 2 minutes to speak during the public comment portion. Please avoid repetitive comments, unruly behavior. If there's a group, you could ask one person to be the speaker or representative. Each person may have 2 minutes to speak. Would anyone like to make comment? Anyone online or in person can speak. Okay, hearing none. Is there anyone typing online? Okay. Board of Trustees, do you have any comments to add?
I'll just say thank you to the voters of the FVRL district for passing our levy.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like the voters have spoken. There's no other comments.
No. All right, I formally close the public comments. The next steps are to adopt Resolution 2025-11, adopting the 2026 property tax levy. Is there a motion to adopt Resolution 2025-11 as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? I move this to a vote, please.
Marie Coffey,
Aye.
Mary Ann Duncan Cole, Olga Hodges,
Aye.
Christy Morgan,
Aye.
Mary Williams,
Aye.
Irina Kakarina,
Aye.
Megan Dugan.
Aye.
Motion to approve the 2026 levies adopted. Are there any more comments before we close the public hearing? Okay, the public hearing for the 2026 levy is now closed. Thank you. Next up is resolution, wait, we did that. Hold on one sec. That's done. Next is policy committee. We're going to go to the policy committee for the strategic plan, mission, vision, values, and priorities first read.
So I'd like to invite up Lisa and Katie from Point North, two of the consultants working particularly on the strategic planning process. I see that Jill is online representing Group 4, who is working with them, but also focusing on the facilities master plan. So you'll hear more from Jill at next month's meeting. So tonight's meeting is to look at the draft mission, vision, values, and priorities as a first read. We will not be voting on this, but this is a lot of the work that's gone into crafting this will really help drive some of the other work we bring back to you in the full plan. So with that, I will turn it over to Lisa and Katie.
Thank you, Jennifer. My name's Lisa Kiyohokololi Shower, and I'm joined by my teammate, Katie Dye. We are thrilled to be here. So appreciate the opportunity with the trustees and with Jennifer and the admin team to walk through where we are right now. So we'll provide a bit of an update, and then we'll open it up for any questions. So as we get started, you can see on this first slide really just a beautiful design. And so this is a little bit of what's to come. Today, we're focusing on the structure of the strategic plan, the flow, and the words that represent thousands of community comments and inputs. And you'll see the strategic planning process will be wrapped up in December, but it's time for us to start to break up pieces of that for you today.
And if I may, the design itself is done in-house by our communications and marketing division. And you will hear more about that design next month and what it represents. Just a hint, there's a quilt in it.
We had two of the members of the next chapter, three of the members. We had two online and one in person that joined us to share a little bit of feedback on the process so far. We wanted to really make sure that you had an accurate picture of all of the participants from that next chapter advisory committee, three of which are members of this Board of Trustees. So we have appreciated the work that this group has done. I think it's important to share that this group represents staff, board, foundation, friends of the library, business, education, government, workforce, community-based organizations, and students. So we have a wide variety of input that makes up this group. This group is simply an advisory group. So each time that we meet with this group, which we've met 4 times, we have 1/5 final committee meeting. We're seeking their input and then we're coming back. We're doing that work. We're having conversations with the admin team, and then we're refining and bringing back to you recommendations. So with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to Katie to talk a little bit more broadly about our strategic planning process.
Thank you, Lisa. So before we get into the draft content, we want to share a little bit about how did we get to where we're at right now in our drafting process. Lisa shared a little bit about this process being one that started with community engagement. So over the summer, we, alongside the FVRL team, went across the region to various sites, various libraries, tabling across the region, having conversations, both with community members, with staff, and with patrons of the library to have a conversation around what does the library currently mean to them? What would they like to see in the future of the library moving forward? And what's their feedback around that? In that process, we gained over, as Lisa said, thousands of inputs that were conglomerated together into feedback. Analysis was done, and that was shared with you all. An update was given with you all back in the summer. Lisa came and shared a bit of an update on where we're at with that. That feedback was given to the Next Chapter Advisory Committee. The Next Chapter Advisory Committee looked at all of that feedback from the community and then put together themes. What are we hearing? What's missing? What are we hearing from community in terms of hopes, wishes, and what the library should focus on in the next 5 years? That feedback was then looped back to the admin team, and the admin team looked at that feedback and the recommendations from the advisory committee and the full engagement data and started to draft what priorities for the next 5 years should look, sound, feel like based off of all of that engagement. That has been an iterative process back and forth over time. So from the admin team looking at recommendations from the advisory committee and then back to the advisory committee, here's some work that's been done by the admin team and with our consult by the consultant team as well, and then back to that advisory committee. So it's been an iterative process with this advisory committee, as Lisa shared, representing community. In that process, we've also continued to share back out to community some of the ongoing work. I think what's important before we get into the draft content is who is this final plan meant for? What are the audiences of a strategic plan? Strategic planning can sound kind of cold and corporate, and it's a document that's going to live on a shelf, and are we really going to reference it? Our vision and what we heard from you all in our conversations is that that's not what you wanted. You wanted something that could help drive decision-making, that could help align the priorities of the work moving forward, and that you wanted it to be rooted in community feedback. that's what has guided this process and what has really been attributed to the final content you're going to, or the draft content you're going to see today. The audiences of a strategic plan. What's really critical here is that a strategic plan, first and foremost, helps really align staff and organization. So as we went out to staff and we asked them, what is the future of the library? What are their hopes? What's working well? What's maybe not working so well? We use that feedback in our inputs as well. But what's important is that a strategic plan, particularly vision, right? What does the next 5 years look, sound, feel like for us? Where do we want to be? Mission. What does the everyday, daily work that we do in our branches across the district look, sound, feel like to advance that work? And then how do we do that? That's rooted in our values, right? So a strategic plan really helps guide staff across the district in the daily work and actions they take to advance the work of the library. It's also really important for funders and donors. So people who are investing their dollars into the work of the library, into the mission of the library, that is really important to know, what am I investing into? What is the organization committed to? Where are you going? A strategic plan provides clarity around that. Community partners, friends, and volunteers, really helpful. How can I jump in? How can I help advance something? Having a clear strategic direction around, again, where the district is going over the next 5 years provides clarity for friends groups, for volunteers, and for community partners who want to engage in this work alongside you all. And then, of course, community members. So as you continue to report out the progress that the district is making, as you will, in board sessions or in conversations, you can reference the strategic plan. You can reference the stated objectives and clear measures of success that you've committed to in order to continue to advance that mission. So to the draft content, I've shared a little bit about how we got to this draft content, and I've shared a little bit around who the intended audience is of this plan. In front of you, you will see a draft vision, mission, and value statements. I'm going to go ahead and read that for you. So the vision. We are the community hub for literacy, learning, and civic life, where every person thrives through knowledge, curiosity, and connection. Mission. We champion equitable access to literacy and lifelong learning for stronger, more connected communities. Values. Integrity. We earn public trust by leading with transparency and stewarding our resources with care, upholding the right to intellectual freedom and access for all. Connection. We create welcoming spaces, connecting people to ideas, resources, and one another, so everyone we serve is seen, valued, and respected. Lifelong learning. We build literacy, nurture curiosity, and encourage discovery, embracing exploration, creativity, and growth at every stage of life.
These are the ways in which the FVRL libraries guides the work. The actual work fits into what we like to think of as a set of priorities. And these priorities will include goals and objectives, and as Katie mentioned, measures of success in that final strategic plan. We want to make sure that that foundation is so strong that no matter who you talk to within the library or within the community, it's clear what you're setting out to do, who you're serving, and why, which is a bit of that mission, vision, and values. The how we achieve that are the priorities that are laid out here. So what's important in how we're presenting this is these are kind of the top level 4 priorities that all of those goals, objectives, and measurements fall within. We're really only going to talk today at that high level with these 4 areas, not get into any of those details. Those details will show up at your next meeting where we'll have evolved the draft. The priorities are really centered on the work, and the 4 interconnected priorities guide how we design spaces, develop programs, collections, and services, invest in technology, and support our staff. The 4 priorities that I'll go ahead and read are really truly informed by that iterative process that Katie mentioned. The first is operational excellence, fostering a culture of learning, accountability, and continuous improvement that unites our staff, systems, and spaces to deliver exceptional service and lasting impact. Community connection and inclusion, building meaningful connections and advancing equity through partnerships, inclusive access, and welcoming spaces where everyone can learn, share, and belong. Library programs, collections, and services. Develop and deliver inclusive, engaging offerings that reflect community interests to inspire learning, strengthen connection, and enrich the lives of people across all ages and backgrounds. Spaces and technology, creating welcoming, innovative, and adaptable environments to connect people, expand access, empower discovery, and meet evolving needs in our communities. So together, these priorities ensure we offer inclusive, engaging, and responsive experiences that spark curiosity, support lifelong learning, nurture creativity, strengthen social connection, and promote equitable access for people of all ages and backgrounds. So these are the 4 primary areas of that strategic plan, and we'll build out the additional goals and objectives. But we thought it would be important for you to kind of see where we're at and see how this all builds together. We also know how important words are. Words share meaning based on your lived experiences, based on your identity, based on your profession. There are a lot of reasons why a word may mean something to each of us, and it may be different. What we thought was really important is to share with you a glossary of terms that activate the words within mission, vision, values, and those strategic priorities. So that's what you'll see on the next 2 slides. We also want to ensure that the strategic plan does reflect the community's voice and that the words that we've heard through the community are reflected in the strategic plan and in a shared understanding and commitment that these words can have throughout this 5-year strategic plan. So there are 2 slides here that go through some of the words that we know may need further explanation, and then the draft definition for each of those words. So you understand the context in which they're being used and why those words matter. So with that, we have gone quickly through our entire set of slides. We really wanted to make sure that you had a real good understanding of the process again, as well as the draft content that's before you today. So we're not asking for any action, but we are open to any feedback. And as I mentioned, there are 3 members of that next chapter advisory committee on the Board of Trustees. So if there's any feedback that you have as well, we want to make sure that we're reflecting that in the work that is presented before you today.
So I do have a question about the data. I'm a data girl. Where are the numbers? Where's the community feedback? How many people said what? I would love to see that type of information. I'm kind of disappointed it's not here for us tonight because we're going to be making a decision based on community feedback, board members, things like that. But I'm not seeing any, data provided. So I kind of thought we were going to see that tonight.
So I did present this summer and I did share some of that data. I can bring back that presentation. Was there data that was missing?
Well, you still collected further community input after the summer presentation, I believe. And so I was hoping to see, some of the popular words, the process you went through a little bit. I hear that a lot of the information was gathered on Post-its. And so how many did you gather for the word books? More, I know that you must have it because you weighed it and you created a document for us. So I was hoping to see more of that type of thing.
We are happy to provide that. We have a community engagement summary that has been completed that has a high level summary as well as some of those themes, but it really is the collection of the data. But I presented that this summer, so there wasn't a lot of additional outreach other than the next chapter advisory committee.
It was all completed at that point.
The survey was not 100% completed at that point, but it was maybe a week away. So it would have been whatever was, pretty close.
Okay.
And on our website, and maybe I'll just tell you so they don't have to struggle. There is a page on our website on the strategic plan. If you scroll down to the bottom of the website, it's called Strategic Priorities. And it will take you to a page about the strategic plan. And I'm trying to see, it has kind of all that we've done, but I was trying to look to see, yes, the presentation that was done at the August board meeting is right there, just that part of the meeting.
Then,
That was when it was almost complete.
okay.
Yes.
So my other question is, if we have suggestions tonight, who will be revising this?
That's a really good question. So I think at this point, yes, asking questions or providing some direction of what you'd like to see. It would be at this point the core team, which is a section of the admin team and Point North working together to craft it, because the NCAC, their last meeting is Wednesday. It is their celebration time of all of that they've done to participate through the process. And then they are still always going to be ambassadors for this process, but they will not be meeting any further. So any further changes would have to be done between the admin team with the assistance of Point North and coming back to the board.
Okay. In my first meeting, I'm frustrated. My biggest request was to remove the word equity and find a more neutral word. That we've had several discussions, and we've had several discussions trying to get back to more neutral language, more neutral environments, things like that. And I think people would probably agree that equity can be sort of a not neutral word these days. It's also sort of ambiguous. You know, you can go back in our equity toolkit. I have the definition here. Jennifer wasn't even aware there was already an equity definition. We have, it's whatever you, however you want me to word it.
Yeah, I was aware of it. That wasn't what we were looking at. So
my point is, though, that it changes. You know, we need words that someone can look at a document and think, oh, they mean this. I mean, there's definitions of equity. There's just a lot of different ones. Is there not a more clear, more neutral word we could use? There's equitable access. I see that defined. You know, the definition sounds great. There's a billion other words in the world. We couldn't find one without equity. You know, that was my request to you when you consulted with me in the very beginning. I won't speak for the other board. I don't know who requested what, but that was mine. And my job as a trustee is to vote for this, and it's something I'm going to be held to. And I cannot vote for this the way it is. So I'm going to stop talking now and let someone else talk, but pretty frustrated.
Well, I would step in and say thank you for leading with that, because those are my feelings as well, that I said all of that in the beginning when we had an interview. And for the same reasons, that word has too many overtones. We talked about in the policy committee that simple terms that are not are easily understood by no matter what your native tongue is, just very plain and simple, all are welcome.
Do you believe that equity was heard multiple times in the community feedback? I've been sitting on the next level advisory committee. I understand that you would want to say that. And unfortunately, some of us have been at those meetings, so we have probably seen more than you have.
Oh, I'm sure that.
Yeah. I can think of no better standard to be held to as a board of trustee member than equity. I think it's very easy to think that it's too divisive a term or something, but our community is changing and growing. And when you're not a marginalized person, you don't realize how much you need that word in writing. I am a woman of color, I am queer, I represent this community, and I hold that seat on this board seriously. And I saw the feedback. I went to multiple community tables. I saw their Post-it notes. I saw the feedback people left. They felt included. They felt like their voices had been heard. And if we say, whitewash that word out of our statements, we end up having a whole growing proportion of our community. This area is becoming more diverse, and they start to see that from us. I don't want to vote in favor of that. Obviously, the board will vote in a majority, but I want to be on the side of equity. It matters. It really, really matters.
Can you define equity for me?
Equity is exactly, this definition is beautiful on this piece of paper.
I don't see a definition for equity. I see equitable, define just equity, only equity.
Equity means that no matter your race, your identity, any other demographic factor, that you are welcome and included. I would wonder, what other words would you pick since you didn't have a chance to be on the next advisory committee? What words would you pick?
All are welcome. I'm not sure why you're throwing whitewash and things into it. All are welcome, aren't we? Aren't we all welcome?
We are, and we also have to be a lot more specific about what that means.
Okay, why?
Because it matters.
All?
Yeah.
All are welcome. So
equally.
Okay.
Equally.
Equal. Let's use equal. That's a great word.
Right.
So under the mission with equitable access, just to make sure, I think that says we have libraries across the district. We can't do the same thing that we do at the Vancouver Library because of its size as we can do at the Stevenson Library. So equitable access really helps to define what that means. It's not about the people in that case. It's about the resources, the services, the programs that are provided in an equitable fashion. So otherwise, you could have a system that says, well, most of the people are in Clark County, very few in the other counties, so they get what they get. Everything's going to be focused here. That's what equitable access means, that we won't do that we will provide services to our full district in an equitable fashion. So I just wanted to clarify that because the suggestion you used doesn't fit there.
Doesn't fit into which part?
That's the mission one.
There's only one place that I found in this document where the word equity is used. So
Yeah,
do you have a
under community.
suggestion for a replacement word there? That would mean the same thing? Because you can't put in that sentence, all are welcome doesn't really.
Well, I'm talking about the mission right this minute, equitable access.
Oh, you said equity.
Like
So I was
there,
looking for something in the document.
Yeah, equity's down here too. I haven't got there yet, but we champion equitable access to literacy and lifelong learning for stronger, more connected communities. So equitable access, yes, we defined it here. Is there really no other word than equitable that you can think of that fills that?
Equitable is also a problem, not just equity, equitable, because that means that.
Yeah, I'm just asking. So is everybody fine with that one? So
You asked a question.
Yeah.
I can tell you we had lots of conversations and word searches and really looking at this because we heard some of the concerns from board members at NCAC. It wasn't the rest of the group. There was one other member of the NCAC. I want to be clear.
Okay.
So knowing that and knowing the board is who has to vote on this, we did go back and look at what other words could be replaced. And we did not find anything that really would replace this term to really describe what we do.
Okay.
That doesn't mean it doesn't exist, Christy. Like you said, there's millions of words, but I will say we did our due diligence in really testing and exchanging words, and nothing would rise to the level of what we're trying to say here.
Okay.
Would you not want the members of our community to have equitable access to our resources? Or what would
Of course I do. That's an interesting argument people use is you don't like the word equity, you don't want it for people. That's not true. I want a neutral word if we can find it, a more neutral word. Equitable access, the definition she sent is fantastic. I like it. If there's not a better phrase we can come up with. Okay. Equity. So if you want to move on to the other one you found, the only use of the word equity is under community connection and inclusion, advancing equity. I do have a problem with that. We haven't redefined the word equity since 2011. And the definition, I mean, read it because it's the only one we have to go by for FVRL.
And do we have equity
It's
in the definition?
advancing equity is in the glossary of terms.
I have used just equity, and that seems to be different.
Oh, I'm sorry. In the document, it does say advancing equity under community connection.
Yeah.
Which we
I'm talking about equity, period. Not advancing. Are you talking about, I'm sorry,
in the
probably not following.
in under community connection, what you're speaking to, it says advancing equity and
So taking intentional action to ensure fair access, treatment, and opportunity for all by removing barriers, addressing disparities, expanding meaningful participation across the community. So that's even different than what we had in 2011. So I just think it's weird to use words that we're going to be redefining regularly. I have a problem with the equity word. I just do. Like 2011's definition was wildly different than this year. So how are people going to know what we're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
What was the percentage of our population that were surveyed? When you went through all the different branches this summer, and what was?
Marie, that's really,
Well,
that's
it
an
seems like
unfair
it's
kind of question. We have 560,000 people that we serve. So we had 1,800 people fill out a survey.
Okay, well, that
We had,
gives
it was
me an
at
idea.
700 people that came to community conversations or tabling events, et cetera. So when you look at the percentage, it's going to feel extremely small. Is it representative? Sure. Is it scientific? No.
No, not
We
asking
didn't
for
pay
that.
for
I'm
a
just asking
scientific
for,
survey.
just comparing what the population
I
is and how
also
many were
want to
here.
remind the board that the staff was part of this as well. And so this is about how the staff do their jobs, how they have direction to do their jobs. The last strategic plan was one that we haven't talked about much. And the staff, I have internally provided them with strategic priorities for this year because we were in the middle of a process and they needed to have direction of what they were going to be focused on. But I think the important point is this means something to our staff as well. And so I'm not saying that those words can't change, but I have not, and this group has not come up with better words to describe the work.
So I hear what you're saying. I think we agree on the idea behind the words. So it's weird we can't find a different word to put in its place.
Olga has her hand up, by the way.
Oh, sorry, Olga. Let me just finish this thought here. One thing we hear over and over on the board is you've signed this strategic plan, your mission, vision, and values. So it needs to be something like I didn't vote on the last one. So, but I'm still accountable to it. This one I'm voting on. So they can say that to me because I did vote on it. So it needs to be something that I can stand behind. Go ahead, Olga.
To say that nothing has been found to address the request for some different language, it's a little bit of a there has been a lot of suggestion. There has been discussion. There have been many words actually offered up, but there is a very clear resistance to working that out. I went to one meeting here locally for the, community engagement. I'm part of the Next Chapter group. It's definitely not a snapshot of our entire community. There's definitely a big bias there. There's definitely a minority of opinion there that's not being well received. And we don't have to break into those details now, but I just want to highlight that if we are having a bit of a heated discourse even now, which is wonderful. Thank God we can do that in America, because where I'm from, you're not allowed to do that. But if we're having this much friction over language, it means it's really important to some people in one way, and it's really important to others in another way. But if it's going to cause more conflict, if it's going to cause jumping to conclusions that, oh, if you don't take this on, you must believe this. I just want to invite us to take a step back to find neutral and common language that would still express these values, because it doesn't mean we don't practice things. But if a word is isolating for some and upsetting to others, we need to be sensitive to that, because we want to do that in some places, but not in others. And so if we're having, if this is really a problem for people, just even in this room, I imagine it would be at large as well. And so wherever you land on it, I think it's just good public practice for us to step back and see where we can find more simple and neutral language. There were other words that were brought up to be not politically charged. I personally brought up the word hub being a word that doesn't land well for people that where English wasn't their first language. I'm a member of the Slavic community. And, there was pushback even on that. And so I don't understand why we say we looked and there was seeking. The truth is things were offered up and it was just rejected because there is a majority opinion there that is dominating this process. And here we are. That's all I have to say.
Well, Olga, what I would say to that is that, yes, you've offered up different words. And as I said, we have looked at all different kinds of words. And it's not that we haven't heard suggestions, it's that they haven't risen to the same meaning and fell short of what we're trying to achieve. So if there are additional words, I'm going to also speak to the hub since you brought it up. One of the things that we have done now is to run words through a service to really look at in other languages the meaning. So Katie, if you want to speak to that.
Yeah, I'm happy to. Olga, I do want to note that we were quite responsive to your request at the last advisory committee meeting to seek counsel on the translation and transcreation opportunity around language. And in that consult, we did arrive and receive both translated documents of this draft content and transcreated versions. And specifically asked for feedback around a few of the words that were in question, one of them being hub. And we did not receive feedback that specific word was in question. We asked for it translated in Russian, Ukrainian, and Spanish, and we're happy to provide what the result of those looked like. But we did want to advance that request that was made in that space, because we certainly understand that there's a priority to ensure that the content of this is accessible to the communities it impacts most.
Maybe just to add a little bit to that. So transcreation is about, do the words mean the same in another language? Translation is the actual translation. So just so that we're clear, and anyone that may be watching, we looked at both so that there wasn't just a literal translation of the words, there was understanding from a cultural perspective as well. So I think it probably is also important just to share that Katie and I absolutely heard each of you. And we also heard you say you wanted a community reflected plan. And while I think the advisory group is representative of the community, they're not the only community input. And so I'm happy to provide additional data if that's what you need to be able to feel like this isn't biased or with a very specific lens by either ourselves as the consultants or a group of 26. I want to be really clear. There are thousands of inputs here, quite a bit of data that has been accumulated. So Christy, to your point, I think we have tried to ensure that we're loyal to the community we also live and work in. And so
I run in a lot of homeschool community circles. I am around a lot of families that don't trust the library, don't believe anything will happen, will not come to any meetings of the sort. It's also my job to help speak for those people too. And so there are many people that don't like equity word. It's really interesting words. We all want the same thing under the word on top. So I feel like we can do better. What about for the mission? We champion equality of access, to literacy and lifelong learning. I mean, if we put effort in, I'm sure we could come up with something.
So equality of access.
Well, what were some of
is-
the other,
I'm just,
Go ahead. Yeah,
So you're okay with equality of access, but not equitable.
right.
What's the difference for you?
So equal means that everyone has the same opportunity to go for a thing, to have a thing. Equitable means that we try to make everyone start at the same place, which is impossible as a library to promise that we're going to do that. I don't think it's our job to make sure everyone starts with the same type of thing. We don't even practice that in our pay. We don't have a bunch of people that make the same as you. We can't be equitable. It's kind
I
of
would like to.
I'm sure that
And they just.
I mean, I think
we
that's
would.
equal.
No,
If
equal
everyone
opportunity.
made
Equal
every same as Jennifer,
opportunity.
that would be
Mhm.
equal.
But
Equal opportunity.
I think the concern about equal
Go ahead.
is we can't, this is the mission about to provide these opportunities. Yes, it's equal in the fact that there are libraries around that everybody can walk into, but it's equitable of what's available. That's my concern. Like
Is it equitable of what's available? We're offering the same things to everyone. You just said that like the
you
the
don't
item library is not
think
going to be in
about-
certain branches.
think about
That's
the-
not equitable.
Well, right, because it's equitable with what space they have available
Okay.
to do these things.
So I just feel like I'm not sure how far we're going to get with this.
No, I think though it was just important to understand the difference for you. I'm trying to understand of
I
those.
understand
Yeah.
the difference. The problem is people speak two different languages. People have different meanings for words. In libraries, I think we know this. So
I
when
would
I'm
like
talking,
to understand.
I'm not done talking. I'm sorry.
Yes, but I
When
do
I'm
have a
talking
question
about
when you're done.
equality, I'm talking about equal opportunity. Equal opportunity. Equality means something different. So I mean,
But
equity, sorry. Equity means
is
something different.
not helping to say what we do in the library. Yes, there's equal opportunity that an individual has, but what is our mission?
To give access for all. As far as the mission, we champion access for all to literacy and lifelong learning. Is that not true? Is that not what you're saying also?
But access for all does not speak to how we distribute resources across the district. So if you
That's not
live
what this
in
is
a,
talking about.
well, it does, equitable access.
Okay. So what I'm getting from this is it needs more work. I can't vote for this as it is. Maybe I'm in the minority. I'm not sure. We'll see what happens next month. Oh,
Well, we haven't heard from everybody that's on the board yet.
yeah, feel free to jump in, everyone,
So
but
Mary Ann and Irina, we haven't
Happy-
heard from you.
happy to
Olga
hear
has
from
her
people.
hand up again.
go ahead, Olga. Sorry.
Well, I'm just curious, Jen, if you could give us some examples and that can help us further the discussion because, equity is always, it implies a standard or a goal where something is measured. And so I'm just curious, like, what are some specific examples and how are we removing barriers? I mean, that's like a very socially active task. What does that mean in the library? What does that actually look like? And what are some measurable points of that, like examples that you can give us?
That is what we would be working on, bringing you under the priorities of defining the goals, objectives, and measurements. So this is what we're working on now. But if you just talk in general right now and you think about things that we look at as far as our spaces and where do we have libraries throughout our district? Are they in the population centers? Are they not? If they're not, how far do you have to get to go to the library to have access? And that's why we have bookmobiles in remote areas, and we're adding another one. That would be an example of equitable access. We're trying to get access to people that are in remote areas. So we could go through all of our services and talk about those things. Certainly, I believe everybody comes to this with the best of intents. I will also say to you, I challenge you even to go look at library strategic plans across the country. And you can say you don't care. This is our profession. I committed to the profession.
Who's saying they don't care?
Well, the actions.
Okay. I'm going to interrupt you for a moment.
Yes.
I went to other I went to this no one is writing anything new. Even the ALA practically mirrors some of this stuff. So yes, everyone's copying everyone. It's okay to be different and try to find something new that's more neutral, that includes everyone and not alienates some people. Like, don't say that people don't care, because I think by being on the board, we care.
Well, it's insulting to say that we're copying other language because that's not what has happened.
Okay.
My point was just that in the library industry and field, these words are commonplace because they describe the meaning of what we are trying to do. The politicized nature of what you're talking about, I'm not sure. What does equitable mean?
Sure.
I'm not going to assume I know. What does equitable
I'm
mean
sorry,
from
I
a
just don't
negative?
like saying you're not sure if it's politicized or you don't.
No, I'm not sure. What is it that is the negative connotation that's concerning you about equitable access?
So equity means that everyone starts from the same place. That can't happen. We're not responsible for making sure everyone starts from the same place. I feel very strongly that if we really believed in equity, we would have different pay scales. I feel like we aren't doing what we say we're doing when we believe in equity. When we have people making barely over minimum wage, we have people making more, but that's the way it works because we give pay based on merit, education, skill, need. You can't say we have equity when we have this type of plan in place. It doesn't fit. Does that make sense? It doesn't look like it makes sense.
I
So
understand what you're saying.
oh, okay.
I'm still not seeing how we perform equity. How are we removing barriers? Help me understand this. If this is like this word, this theme is so big in all of this. Give me something that, how have we removed barriers?
I think I can maybe share some examples of how we heard you are currently providing equitable access across the district, at least in the conversations that we had. Your bookmobile is providing equitable access to regions of your service district that would not have the same equal access to a branch otherwise. So if you were just to have branches and not to have the bookmobile, we heard from people who rely heavily on your bookmobile that they would not be able to have equal access to the same programming or books at the library because it's harder for them to get there. They're immobile, they don't have license, or they're young and they're unable to get there. So that was one way that we heard the district is providing equitable access, is prioritizing resources to certain areas of the district to expand access to people who have a challenge, have a barrier getting into a branch. Another way we heard around equitable access was your Wi-Fi. I think Wi-Fi sessions were brought up, which is quite a bit, right? So having an entire digital branch available for people who, again, might have mobility challenges or might have challenges or barriers being able to get into a physical branch. So
we literally do not do that. We literally just took away all the Wi-Fi hotspots from like rural areas. We literally do not do that.
Your digital branch?
You're talking about Wi-Fi access. Like, look,
It's in the libraries that we're talking about, or the bookmobiles.
We could go back and forth. You can make some highlights and I can tell you how, people can find all kinds of examples. It's just, the whole point is, this is just something that is too hot of a button to be pushing, and it would be wise for us to have some more neutral language that agrees with both sides, because we actually are not meeting some of these goals that we are saying that we're doing. I know, because I live in one of these communities, and a lot of times we do get told this is the best you can get out here and you have to be thankful, and we are. But we definitely are not prioritizing resources, like someone just said, to come to the communities that need it the most. We are absolutely not doing that.
Well,
we're giving resources, but we're not prioritizing. This is just language that honestly makes it so we don't do the true work of looking closer, looking deeper, and responding. We're just congratulating ourselves for some stuff that we're truly not doing. And
Can I have
that's
a suggestion? Can I step in, Olga? Access sounds like what we're talking about, and we give the best access to all of the resources that we have, all of the locations. We can't make that equitable to everybody everywhere all the time. Is there a different way of verbalizing how we offer the access besides equitable? That seems to me, that seems to be the hitch here. That's what we want to say, is that we want to make as much available to the people that we're serving.
we do a phenomenal job just providing access.
Yes, we do, I think.
We do.
Yes, we do.
I can put
But
something
that's
on
the
hold.
difference. If you could say that differently,
On
I
hold
think
and
that solves
here
some of
within a week or 2 weeks or days. That's wonderful. Is it equitable? It's not. But I do have access. And so anyway, this is, us doing like arguing over semantics and language and things like that. But it's also a lot of emotion in this, and there's a lot of personal values in politics. And I honor where everybody's coming from. But it's concerning to me that this is such an immovable, non-negotiable thing. It's concerning to me. And I'm disappointed at how quickly we point a finger and say, oh, you don't want this? You must be against it. Personally, as a refugee of a communist country, red flags. It's super uncomfortable for me how quickly that's happening and how non-negotiable so much of this is. Go on.
Right.
Looks like
Has a comment.
Mary. Oh, okay. I think Marianne is trying to talk. Go ahead, Marianne.
Take yourself off mute.
You're on mute still.
Unmute.
There, we hear you now.
Kind of focused. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, you're focusing on kind of one small little issue. I think that you do have a diverse population, and don't close your minds to that you serve. The book needs, the access needs of a Klickitat farmer versus a Vancouver commercial employee are going to be a little bit different. And I think you need to structure how you deal with these independent communities, as long as you are trying to provide the kind of equal access within that community. But whether you provide that same access between a Vancouver resident and a very rural resident may be very different. And I that's just part of the structure you have, because you have both a rural and a urban type environment. And sometimes those have different needs.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think this is a small issue, as we can see tonight. I think I totally agree. We have a diverse population. I think we need to provide equal opportunity to everyone across the board.
So can I go through and highlight where I think there's issues, just so that we have them all?
Like, let Megan maybe, or who else haven't?
Does anybody else have something to say?
I feel like we just heard from Marianne,
Megan?
Irina, and Megan. Do you guys?
I spoke. I don't have anything else to say right now.
Irina, did you want to say anything, or should we just keep going?
It's interesting to hear all of this, and really having just a lot of discussion already and a lot of disagreement. And when you mention about translation, and it's not only a literal thing, and it's not only understanding, it's also mindset. And it's not only us, Slavic people. You have to take care of people from China, people from Asia. The mindset of those people are very different. So, and people like Hub or intellectual freedom and stuff like that, you have to keep in mind that it's not only younger population that we're talking to, it's also elder population of different cultures. Mm-hmm. So it is important, every word. And having very diverse board members, we need to agree on Because if we not agree, I'm sure it's going to be even more problem outside of board meeting.
Did Marianne raise your hand again, or was it still just up? I didn't notice. Still up. Okay.
No, I didn't. I think what we need to do is narrow down today what we're trying to accomplish at this meeting, because we've kind of broadened the scope to a pretty huge animal.
Yeah, so if I could just go through each of the areas with all of you. I think that while Olga mentioned hub, that's still an issue for Olga. Is that an issue for the rest of you, the word hub? No.
No, but I don't speak any other language, so I don't.
Right, but I'm trying to get a sense of when we bring this back in December, we're trying to bring it back so that we can pass this, which means four of you
Mhm.
have to be on the same page.
Yeah.
Well,
I would love all seven, but four of you have to be on the same page.
I work in a community college in East Multnomah County. It's one of the most diverse county areas, and majority of our first generation students are not speaking English as a first language, and our student services building is called the Hub. It's at Mount Hood Community College. So I think it's pretty well understood by a lot of populations, mostly Spanish speaking, but Vietnamese and Russian, Ukrainian speakers are the most common of our ESL students.
Do you guys see how this process is? You have a Ukrainian and a Russian speaker telling you right now that, and it's a benign word. I mean, I love the word. I get it. But we're telling you as representatives of the community, hey, this is a word that is not part of simple language. It's kind of slang. Do you guys see how then someone goes and takes it to someone else to redefine it to tell us, no, we're wrong? Or I work here, so I know better. This is how the whole process has been. I just want that to be very clear and transparent.
I was
And
just giving my personal feedback, Olga. You don't have to agree with it. That's fine.
And that's fine. I'm just telling you, this has not been a perfect process. This does not represent everybody. We just have really a handful of voices plus some community feedback that was put with stickers and sticky notes to capture very specific rhetorical ideas. Just understand this is not bulletproof. This does not represent everybody. It doesn't mean it's bad, wrong, but it's not the holy grail of everything. And the undermining and taking some people's opinions and not others, that's also been part of the process. That's okay. We're allowed to do that. Democratic process, apparently.
Right.
But let's just be really clear that this is going to have some gaps in it. And if we're here discussing it, we're the ones that are the stakeholders here. We're the ones that are doing the work here. I just hope that we can hear what everybody's saying. I'm not wanting to be the sole voice of all this by any means, but to constantly congratulate ourselves, we're actually doing a disservice to the public.
So I feel compelled to lean in here, and I certainly want to make sure that we have clear direction to move forward. I also recognize this is a public meeting, and certainly our credibility as consultants is being questioned a bit in terms of this process. And we have reflected what the community that has shown up to provide us input. And we've gone through an iterative process to ensure that we are bringing to you what we believe is the draft that's reflective of that. We recognize you are making the decisions, and we will take that feedback and we will revise this. I just want to make sure that I'm also being clear about, I don't believe there's been a time where we have not reflected the feedback, whether it is an agreement or not. This draft to us reflects what we've heard. That doesn't mean that that is not where we're going to end up in terms of the final. Our point today was to get feedback from those that'll make decisions and that will vote on this. We've heard that. We're taking notes. We understand equitable is an issue. Regardless of feedback that we've heard, we want to make sure that we're noting anything else besides the word equitable and hub that is important for you as we move forward with this next draft.
I think it's interesting that when we discuss this, it's almost acting like you feel as though we're taking these behaviors off the table, like we're not going to treat anyone the same. That's not the case. So I'm really happy that maybe we can find another way to say what we all want. That would be fantastic.
And I can only speak for myself, but I am not calling on the carpet what you have done and the integrity of any of that. And if we have given you that impression, I am sorry. That is not what I have not intended that. The question was, what is the percentage of how many people have we talked to and the communities that we all revolve in and what we hear. But it wasn't in any way to call on the carpet or to reprimand you in any way for what the quality of the work that you've done.
Thank you, Maria. I appreciate that. I just want to make sure that we are being loyal to the process and that we are representing what we've heard. Again, we absolutely acknowledge this is the group that will make that decision. So hub and equitable access, advancing equity have been the three major areas that we've heard feedback. Are there other areas within this initial document that we should be paying close attention to and bringing back a different draft to you?
Any discussion of intellectual freedom? I don't think we've had that much here, but I would really like to further that discussion maybe at another time.
I would be interested in what the words were that you kicked around that didn't make the cut, that you came close, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think we take this process very, very seriously. There have been multiple drafts. We can bring back other alternatives. Our point today was to test this with you. This is the first time we're going before a public body to do that. And so I appreciate the feedback, and we can definitely bring back alternatives.
Olga brought up intellectual freedom. That's a concern, or are you recommending something else? What?
Can you bring up on the slide where it's where we mention it?
Values.
Right there.
Let's see here real quick.
Under values.
We earn public trust by leading with transparency and stewarding our resources with care, upholding the right to intellectual freedom and access for all.
And then do we have intellectual freedom in the glossary?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, can we read that out loud real quick?
The right of individuals to access, explore, and express ideas and information without restriction. At FVRL Libraries, intellectual freedom means providing diverse materials, protecting the privacy of users, supporting open inquiry and dialogue, and ensuring that people can read, learn, and think for themselves, even when ideas may be controversial or unfamiliar. It affirms that every community member has the freedom to seek knowledge and form their own perspectives.
I think that's a fantastic value and even virtue. When I see something like information without restriction, my only concern is around vulnerable populations, minors especially. And so for me, I would really like to see us mention or consider how that, how those two things would, intertwine.
May I ask a question on that?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't that be where library policy comes into play? As a librarian who has helped manage libraries, I know that there are policies. So it's unrestricted access, but when it comes to vulnerable populations, you don't just let someone put something anywhere. There are policies for how you help patrons engage with materials. Make the space safe, correct? Or
we also, as a library, don't act in local parentis, that it is up to the parents to guide their children's selection, not up to the library.
Amen.
We do have different sections for different types of books, though. I mean,
yes,
I feel like this might be a discussion for another time.
We do, but
we don't just have everything everywhere.
No.
So we do a little bit of that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And
Right.
if you're a parent, you can tell your
ahead.
child, don't check out books from this section. That's not her responsibility.
Yeah, this is probably a different type of discussion unless Olga, I don't know if I'm not going to cut you off. Go
Well,
ahead.
no, I mean, it is one of the basic practices within libraries when they're building collections and when they're obviously putting stuff in, when they're shelving it, um,
And programs.
in programs, which things are, you know, you're putting toddler books in the toddler area, you're putting adult geography in the adult. That's a basic function that we're doing there that it isn't about deciding. We're categorizing it. We're not deciding if this is okay or not. We're not acting as parents. But when I see the words without restriction, that does concern me and how that can be used in a harmful way. And so again, I would like to add something like, you know, at the same time, we're committed to safety and well-being of children and teens. Our collections and spaces for young people are curated with care, offering age-appropriate materials that respect their developmental needs and sensitivities. That's very long, but something that captures something like that, where we're not at all saying, hey, we're the parents, we're deciding. Also, you know, Olga on the board isn't deciding for you. I'm not saying that at all. But how intellectual freedom and child safety work hand in hand.
Are you suggesting that that would be in the glossary, added to the
Yes,
definition glossary?
not all of that, but something where we can put that into the consideration and expression of the word. Because in the last decade or so, there have been times when intellectual freedom was like the reference, and then, you know, people even picking up a paper saying, hey, that's okay to do because we have intellectual freedom. It's been used in harmful ways, and so I just want to be sure that we are hedging it in a safe way, that in expressing that that has kids' safety in mind, but not overstepping obviously our professional boundaries.
Since this is a different type of document than like a policy for collection sorting, would it make a difference if we took off the without restriction for this part? For the in the glossary I'm talking about. So
Yeah.
in the glossary under intellectual freedom, if like without restriction was, and then like the rest I feel like could go to policy committee maybe in the effort of, you know, keeping the meeting moving. But I don't want to not hear you. But would that kind of say what you're trying to say? Like if
Unless I think that's okay, unless to some people that really makes them feel like we're saying with restriction. Because I'm also concerned when it says, even when ideas may be controversial or unfamiliar. If we
as far
don't,
as the restriction part goes, we already sort of restrict when we have different sections. So I think like removing with restriction we're doing that. I don't know.
I would say we don't restrict.
Yeah.
We organize information into age groups. We have children's and teens and adults, right? But we don't really restrict like, you know, as a young prodigy, Christy, if you would have come in and you've read everything in the children's area and you wanted to read teen, the library's not restricting. Back in the day, that was different, but that's not what we do. The parents, we expect, are really guiding the children's habits.
Yeah.
And so I guess that would be my only concern. But to put without restriction, like just in the sentence after information, I think it's still implied.
I think it's actually more correct because right now we're just talking about physical materials. We do have filtered internet, and there's other types of restriction that the library is providing for minors.
Strike that.
And Irina has had her hand up for a really
Oh,
long
I'm
time.
sorry, Irina, go ahead.
So my question, we always, a few questions. One of them is we always talking about, oh, parents can do this, parents can do that. First of all, I was very surprised that as a parent of a teenager, I wasn't allowed in the teenager zone. So I understand it's for the safety of other teens.
Were you with the teen?
I came to the library with the teens.
Well, that doesn't sound right. So Irina, I would encourage you to reach out to Alicia and have a conversation about your experience.
Okay, so that's the one thing. And it was multiple times, so I know, I understand it's from the point of view of other teens. and kind of tried to respect that, but it led to the experience of bringing home books that wasn't good for even those teens and younger siblings they had. That's one thing. Another
I want to clarify this because there's a lot of people listening or will listen. If you are an adult and you come into a children's area or a teen area, you will be questioned about that because those are spaces we pay particular attention to. If you have a child with you, if you have a teen with you, you should be allowed in those spaces with your child. The Vancouver Community Library has, a very large teen space. And it is true that teens use that space because it's all teens. But I think, I believe that that's where you go a lot, Irina. So that's probably the location we're talking about. So I encourage you to reach out to Alicia Gamori or anybody else listening, Deputy Director, to talk about your experience so that she can help coach staff.
So if a parent's in there looking at books without a child, they'll be asked to leave?
So I stepped in with the child. My child was at the computer at that moment, and I was asked to leave.
Okay. So we will work on that. But it's unusual. I didn't finish. So thank you for asking that further.
Yeah.
So, for example, teachers come in sometimes without, or you as a parent could go in without your child to pick up books. But you will and should be asked because we're trying to protect the children that are in there
I understand.
as well.
Yes. So the second thing is now the children have access from their schools to the Fort Vancouver Library, where they don't have a parent next to them. And they checking out the books through the school ID. How are we gonna handle that?
Parents can opt out of that service with the schools if they don't want their children to have access, or they also can work with their child on what they are checking out. Again, the library isn't there to be the parent. But yes, with the Connect cards that we have with schools, children that have those Connect cards are able to check out, I think it's 3 items. Is that right? Anybody here tell me? No? Well, you can look it up and tell me. We have librarians in the room, they'll find the answer. But the point is that yes, that provides access, but it's an opt-out program if you don't want your children participating.
So the schools automatically give your info to the library without parental permission, and then they have to opt out if they want out.
Correct.
Shouldn't be the other way around where they opt in to give the information to the library?
That is not how it has worked anywhere in the country that I have been.
And
this is long before me, Christy, but I'm just giving you.
It's just interesting. I never thought about all that.
And the schools communicate with the parents of what is happening and what the program is.
And you can imagine that, the whole class making projects like middle school, and my kid not allowed to go and check out the books. Can you imagine the feeling of that child?
You mean because you would have not allowed a child to check it out?
Sorry, Irina, I'm not sure we followed that last part.
The feeling of to be singled out, the feeling to be, in a whole class, in front of the whole class.
Yeah.
So that's kind of another thing that comes with those intellectual freedom.
So I think
one more thing.
Go
Sorry for taking so long.
No, you're fine.
We still have restrictions for the movies. We still have cataloging and kind of division for the movies. But we tried to remove that from the books. I'm not talking about censoring. I'm not talking about banning, but people who making movies, they kind of take in consideration. I know it's can be debatable, but at least they try. Shouldn't we try to do that?
No.
Okay, I'm done.
Well, there's a rating system of the movies. It's not us rating it. And then with the publishing of the books, when we create records, there are records that come with age recommendations, and that's how they're cataloged then in the organization of where they're placed. Most of the time, the organization and placement is correct. On occasion, there are books that have been challenged because, for example, it might live in the children's area and really the content is for a teen, and we've moved those collections. So it does happen that the records at times are not appropriate, but that is the exception, the minority. And to rate with age restriction collections, there's lots of issues around that, and certainly a topic for a different day, but an interesting one to have.
So to address that, that would be more of a policy collection thing.
Yeah.
Olga, I feel like I maybe cut you off, but we were talking about going through to see what we're going to be working on. And we stopped at without restriction, I think, for oh my goodness, intellectual freedom.
Mm-hmm.
If we removed without restriction for this portion of the work, is that okay? Like,
Yeah, I mean, that's good because I like that definition, but again, as a parent, I'm considering how that impacts not just myself, but my children. And since there are no regulatory bodies for the rating of children's materials, because publishers are basically suggesting it. It's part of marketing. It's part of things that seem common sense. This is a board book for toddlers. But there isn't necessarily like a body that a group that completely goes across the field and rates all of this. So it's a little bit of an uncharted territory, it seems like still, and publishers have things.
Library of Congress that creates records and reviews items, as well as OCLC with WorldCat, where we get records from. There are bodies, but when you call it regulatory, not in the same fashion as movies.
Well, I'm writing in the chat here, so I didn't have more time. I'm curious if there's anything that we are doing to ensure young patrons are not exposed to content that may be harmful or inappropriate for their age within this intellectual freedom model. Is there anything that we do?
Other than age of materials, so children's materials go to children's, teen, adult, etc. Again, that is up to the parent to decide what is harmful and inappropriate. I mean, some of it goes to what we're curating. And I guarantee there is something in our libraries to offend every single person in our service area.
Yeah,
that is us doing our job and providing intellectual freedom. So when you ask this question, I find it to be a little bit going back to what I was talking about. It's the parents' responsibility to guide their children's reading habits, listening habits, viewing habits. It's not the library's. The library's job is to provide the diversity of information and ideas and access to them.
But more to your point, I think that's a policy.
Yeah.
That we're
Which is in our collection development.
Yeah, we're off target here, I think, a bit.
So let's bring it back. I want to make sure you have all the questions you have answered. We were kind of going through piece by piece. Did we finish what you had in mind?
I had
Oh, did you have something? Olga?
Sorry, you guys are tiny on a screen, so I can't tell if you're talking to me or not.
Oh, sorry. No, I'm talking to the consultants now.
I had 4 areas that had been brought up as potential concerns based on what I've heard. The definition of intellectual freedom would therefore allow for the word to remain under the values. If that's incorrect, please let me know.
Right.
The other-
I would like to have additional things added to that definition. That's where I stand right now.
Okay, could you make sure, Olga, to send me those so that what you were reading, could you send me that?
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
Outside of intellectual freedom, equitable access, advancing equity, and hub were the other areas. Is there any other word that we need to be refining that has not already been discussed, or a definition that we should be refining?
Well, to praise you, operational excellence. I really like the wording of that, fostering a culture of learning, accountability, and continuous improvement that unites our staff, systems, and spaces to deliver exceptional service and lasting impact. Yes, like that one. I like your spaces and technology. The wording on that one is also very good and right, spot on.
All right, thank you.
So what we will do next is we will, obviously we have a meeting with the NCAC on Wednesday afternoon. We will be talking about where we are, and some of these words will be highlighted. I assume we'll try to get some feedback. And then we will be building out the goals, objectives, and measurements that support these priorities, and be bringing the whole package back to you at the December board meeting. At the board committee meetings in December, Point North and Group 4 will come to our committee meetings to discuss all of the plans in preparation for the full package coming to the board in December.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. And I just want to say it's good that we get to have this dialogue, and it's good that we get to have disagreements and agreements come together. If we were just patting ourselves on the back and moving through this without any discussion, that would actually be a real big disservice to our community. So thank you, everybody, for handling this so well.
Thank you. Next up is the 2026 board meeting schedule. You all had it in your packets. So we are
Motion to approve.
losing my place.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. All right. Is there a,
Can I ask a question?
sure, go for it.
We had a board retreat to do budgeting last
Oh,
year, but not this year because of the levy. Are we gonna do one in 26?
So I think there'll probably be some reason for a retreat, but we haven't scheduled that yet. So it would be considered a special meeting, and we will call that when it's appropriate.
Side. Yeah. Any other questions about the schedule? All right, is there a motion to approve the 2026 FVRL regular board meeting dates and locations?
So moved.
Again,
Any further discussion? I move this to a vote, please.
Green Coffee,
Aye.
Mary Ann Duncan Cole, Olga Hodges,
Aye.
Chris Morgan,
Aye.
Carrie Williams,
aye.
Irina Kakarina,
Aye.
Megan Dugan.
Aye.
Motion passes for the 2026 FVRL regular board meeting dates and locations. Finally, we have to, let's see, move on to executive session. The Fort Vancouver Regional Library District Board of Trustees will now meet in executive session to discuss personnel as allowed by RCW 4230-110. The Board of Trustees will be in executive session for 15 minutes, 40 or until 8:40 p.m. The Board of Trustees is, to check before I say it, not expected to take further action following the executive session. If an extension is required, we'll come out and let you guys know. Thank you. So we'll leave the room. You all can stay here today, and we'll be back in 15 minutes. We'll call, or who's going to call these guys? Megan, are you going to do that? We'll call you guys. I'm calling this meeting back to order. Executive session has ended. Setting for the next regular meeting is December 15th at 6 p.m. at Vancouver Community Library and also hybrid on Zoom. Is there a motion to adjourn the November 17th meeting?
I so move.
Is there a second? Are there any objections? Hearing none.
Tend to skip board comments or?
I did not. Thank
I just
you.
did not.
Just in the nick of time. Okay. I crossed it off somehow. Board comments, please go ahead. Thank you.
I don't know if I don't have a comment.
I have no.
I didn't want to see if anyone had one.
I've talked enough tonight. No.
I'm going to give some love to our foundation because
Yes.
Jenny's here and I get to see you this week at the foundation board meeting. But yeah, there's just been so much good stuff. And I know we didn't have enough time. We kind of glossed over it in the packet, but there were updates in there. I encourage everybody on the board to look at that from the foundation's annual authors and illustrators dinner, which was amazing. Sorry for my trouble table. We had a lot of fun. And I'm so excited to see like all the things that you're supporting out and are able to support. I think it's amazing that you came on. You're a great ED. I love the way the library and the foundation are working together. I have never known it any differently, but I've heard some stories. So I think it's amazing. And just everything that I get to witness by being the liaison is really special. And the people who work for the foundation are so special. I just want to give them a shout out because we have some time. So
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your library of things.
Pretty awesome.
I am intrigued with that. Thank you very much, Jennifer, for your patience and hearing us out. And thanks to the two ladies that have taken off and for their patience and for their ears.
Excuse me. Any other comments?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody again for the great discourse today. And for those of us that are, remoting in, for being, you guys are really great about helping us be included and part of the conversation. I'm thankful for that. I know it can be disruptive, but I'm thankful for how well that all works.
I echo that.
All right. Now, is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I so move.
second again.
Any objections, Megan?
No, I don't have any objections this time.
Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you for your patience.